Hello, I'm Julie Swenson, Managing Director of Forward Theater Company in Madison, Wisconsin.
And I'm Mike Fisher, a Milwaukee-based theater writer and dramaturg.
And I'm Jen Uphoff-Gray, founder and artistic director of Forward Theater Company. And this is Theater Forward, a monthly conversation about theater from a local, regional, and national perspective. From Madison to Manhattan, we're excited to share insights into our own company while exploring issues surrounding theater in the Midwest and around the country. Welcome to episode 127 of Theater Forward.
Great to be here.
And in this episode, we're returning to one of our favorite annual topics, gratitude. As we near the Thanksgiving holiday, what are we each feeling grateful for? And I love hearing from both of you on this topic every year. Julie, I'm going to let you get us started.
Well, I know that you two will probably go far afield. So much of my thanks is closer to home. But I am reacting, and this is probably a topic for another podcast, this idea that we should get rid of regional theaters and all the money should just go to artists. And I think, well, okay, but then when the artists are doing a show, they're going to need to market their show. And who will they do? And how will they raise money? They're going to need a development director. And it got me thinking about how grateful I am for the incredible staff at Forward Theater and how hard they work and how joyfully they work. And none of us could do what we are doing right now without the other. And I am really grateful to all of them.
Cosign.
As it is here. And I guess with that sort of preamble, I won't start by telling you what my favorite show in New York was this year. We'll save
that's
for later.
The whole point.
There's a great regional production that I saw. And this is exactly the kinds of chances that regional theaters can take. And it was at Court Theater this last year. It was a Mikkel Maher play. If that name sounds familiar, those of you in Milwaukee saw in the old Youngblood days, saw Michael Cody, the director who was the artistic director at Youngblood and a big fan of Mikkel Maher, did two of his plays. One of his plays has also been done at Next Act in the Cody Essel era. But this new play, which was an adaptation of a graphic novel by Jason Lutz called Berlin, was about Berlin. It's about Berlin between 1928 and 1932. It has a huge cast of characters. It involved a huge gamble on the part of this theater company. It's sort of the play, I would best describe it as not only timely for reasons we don't need to get into today in terms of that particular era and its relation to our own, but also because it's sort of a subversion of cabaret. There's nothing about this show that was glamorous. It's just about how easily we lose our democratic rights and slide into fascism if we're not careful. It was a beautiful piece of work. And it just wouldn't have happened in New York. It's not the kind of thing New York would have felt comfortable given the money involved that the court had to spend taking a chance on it. And they were richly rewarded. It won a slew of awards at the Jeff Awards ceremony this last September and deserved every one of them. So I am thrilled I got to see that this year.
Oh, that sounds wonderful, Mike. What a great way to start us off. Julie, I think the first one that I'm going to mention is building off yours in a way. And that is that I've been thinking about, we talk all the time about running a company, hiring the theater professionals from across our state, the artists, the technicians. And I've been thinking a lot recently about our volunteers. And specifically the volunteers who show up in support of a professional theater. And because this is what they have to give, they give of their time and their energy. So whether it's the just phenomenal team of folks who will show up on a few days' notice when we put out the call that we've got a big development mailing or a subscriber ticket mailing or something like that, and they will show up to our office in good spirits and just chatter about life in the theater while they stuff envelopes and just bring such great energy and joy and help to our work, and to the folks who usher at the Overture Center and take such pride and ownership in helping our patrons get to their seats and have a great experience. I want to really take a moment and think about how grateful I am for the folks who volunteer and give to our work and support our work in that way.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Um, I just went to a show. It's the first time I have been at Art House 360. It's in Verona, just a little bit south of us. It is a multidisciplinary building. Visual artists and theater Leela is there. And the show I saw was called Planets as Stars. It was written and conceived by Gina Cornejo. Um, Unbelievably moving and poetic. Had a profound impact with it, but not but. And what an incredible space. What a brave thing to do right now to open this space that's open to the community, that has a lot going on. And I encourage anybody in the area to go and support that incredible facility and all the wonderful things that they're doing. And a shout out to also to Jessica Lanius, who is one of the founders of Art House 360 and also the director of Planets and Stars. It was really a profoundly moving evening last night. Can't talk enough about it.
I had also involving a new facility, a great evening a week ago. And that's with the theater that really ought to, those of you from the American Theater Critics Association out there listening, ought to win the regional Tony this year. And that's the Milwaukee Repertory Theater, which opened a production last week of Come From Away with a fully funded, with only 1.9 million of this funding coming from public dollars, $82 million new facility. Did a fantastic, I mean, the facility is drop dead gorgeous. I've also taught in their new educational facility since it opened there in the last couple of weeks. It is something that all of Wisconsin, we of the 50th of 50 states in per capita government spending on the arts. Yes, that's a message to every Madisonian legislator listening to this. It's incredible. And this is something that the rep made happen after overcoming in this 1,000 year floods that we had in August in Milwaukee, $9 million of damage to its, to things like its set design and its costumes, and to stay the course and move forward in that environment with a really, truly spectacularly newly designed facility. And what I'm most excited about it from an artistic standpoint is the sound, which is Mark Clemens from the beginning of his tenure with Cabaret in 2010 was committed to doing musicals. And he's now got a space that will make sure that the mix and the balance is even better. So it's going to be a great future for Milwaukee. And this is along with the 360 space, a facility that I hope everybody in Wisconsin claims as their own and proudly takes ownership of by coming to visit during one of the exciting plays that's going to be coming up in this season.
Mike, I think the next thing on my list that I'm going to mention, inspired by your talk about all the hard fundraising that went into opening the Rep's new space, is to just sort of broadly thank folks, not just here at Forward or here in Wisconsin, but everywhere, who show up as individual donors to support nonprofit theater. We've talked about this before. Government funding, almost non-existent. Corporate funding, for the most part, has been disappearing rapidly. Foundation funding, for the most part, disappearing, being decreased, being, routed to other needs. And if it weren't for individual donors who appreciate what we do, who see the value of what nonprofit theater can bring to a community, and who are willing to give according to their capacity so that we can continue to make access to theater available to folks with a lower financial capacity, it's life-saving. It's crucial. Our organization could not survive without the generosity of our donors, the individual donors who open their checkbooks and their wallets. And as we go into this end of year time, I just want to say so clearly how much we appreciate the folks who are able to do it, because not everybody is. And some people give by volunteering, and some people give by, telling their friends to see our show. But those extra financial contributions are the reason we can make ends meet.
Amen. And coming to plays, supporting live theater with your hearts and your bodies, and being audience members too. Yes, absolutely, Jen. Um, yeah, we seem to be kind of going around in a circle, so I'll continue. I am thankful for my dear friend and former colleague Susan Fate, whose last season at Renaissance Theater Works. She is this season, the 25-26 season. She was one of the founders of Renaissance Theater Works in 1993. She was a co-artistic director when I was producing director, along with Jennifer Rupp and Marie Kohler. Four of us worked together for a long time. And then as people went on to do other things, I came to Forward. Susan continued with Lisa Rasmussen. And she should be really, really proud of where Renaissance Theater Works is. The fact that the mission of gender equity, I'd love to say it's done. It's not. It continues. It continues to be important. I look forward to seeing who grabs the reins and continues the great work that Susan has created, and it's in such good shape foundationally. I'm excited for the next chapter of Renaissance Theater Works, and I want to give a special congratulations to Susan. I'm sure we will be having parties, towards the end of the year, but right now I am thankful for all that she did for Renaissance.
Oh, same. I'm so glad you said that, Julie. Yeah.
I really hope, we should have Susan on a podcast sometime later this year to celebrate and talk about everything that Renaissance has done. I want to honor another amazing woman in Wisconsin theater who has been with us a long time. And it came for me and gave me my best theater moment of 2025. And that's when I sat in the audience at American Players Theater on a hot August night, not knowing that what I was going to be treated to at the beginning of A Winter's Tale was out of order. The character of time, which usually comes in between Acts 3 and Acts 4, or right after intermission, to signal a 16-year lapse that has taken place. And here is time coming out, embodied by Sarah Day, to start the show, and literally almost like that chorus at the beginning of Henry V, to summon the spirits that would make magic on the stage that night. I'm choking up even thinking about it. I was bawling as I was seeing it. And I'm told that when Shauna Cooper, the director, introduced this concept on the first day of rehearsal from somebody who was in the room, there were a lot of wet eyes at APT in the rehearsal room as well. Interestingly enough, given that Sarah was in that moment, this person who has given 4 decades of her life to APT, she was talking about the passage of 16 years. And 16 years earlier, I had watched Sarah in another production of A Winter's Tale. 9 years before that, I had seen her in a production of A Winter's Tale, all of these at APT, playing Paulina. And the one I missed, and I'm very sorry I did, back in 1991, she was Hermione. So she's been in this play all 4 times that American Players Theater has done it. I'll bet you there's a number of Shakespeare plays with regard to Sarah about you being able to say that. So, not my favorite Winter's Tale in 2025. That goes to the amazing Anthony Cimolino production at Stratford. Not my favorite play at APT in 2025. That goes to Tribes, and deservedly so. But by far, a moment that will stick with me and be with me all my life, as will be this incredible actor that I've been lucky enough to see during most of, if not all, of her career.
Let's follow the Sarah Day thread. Also a beloved member of Forward, one of the founders of Forward, a member of our advisory company. She's recently returned to the advisory company. And I was thinking about how grateful I am for theater companies that look to new plays that have had a premiere somewhere, and then are quick to pick them up to do that critical second or third production. So many new plays die on the vine after a premiere. And, I take great pride that we've done a lot of those second and third productions here at Forward. When the time comes to announce our next season, we've got one on the slate for then. But I was thinking about a couple of shows that premiered at Forward in the last few years that have gone on and had productions elsewhere. The Sarah Day reference, of course, is that she was in our production of Murder Girl last season, which is currently having a sold out run at Milwaukee Chamber Theater. I'm very happy to see Heidi Armbruster's play getting, moved along on its pathway through the world. We had our Lauren Gunderson premiere, Artemisia, that we commissioned a few years back. That's been getting produced elsewhere. And I'm grateful to my fellow artistic directors and theater leaders who recognize that it's important to invest in world premieres, and it's important to invest in the next stage for new plays. And I think that doesn't get as much attention sometimes as the world premieres.
Well, on my list of thank yous and looking forward to is an entire calendar year of world premieres here in Wisconsin. We are embarking again on World Premiere Wisconsin 2.0 for the entire year of 2026. And just like I was talking about Renaissance Theater Works and gender equality or gender parity, it's gone out into the world that of course you want, women directors and women scenic designers, and they should be of in equal numbers. I feel like we're what World Premiere Wisconsin has done is keep this idea of producing a world premiere and then grabbing on to the ones that are successful, the ones that you like for a second route, just like you were saying, Jen. But we're seeing more of that and hearing more of that. And people are highlighting those new plays they're doing even more. And I think it's gotten into into the vernacular here in Wisconsin. And that's really exciting.
Moving far afield from Wisconsin, but continuing that thread, the surprise favorite play for me in Stratford this year, and Jeff Frank and Brian Cowling, I hope you're listening very carefully to what I'm about to say, was an adaptation by Kat Sander of Anne of Green Gables of Albany, Ellen Montgomery, Canadian writer who writes these incredible books. I mean, I think a lot of people listening to this will have read them about
my favorites.
Yeah, right. I mean, with all due respect to Wisconsin native Laura Ingalls Wilder, Half Pint et al. Have nothing on Anne with an E of Green Gables. And what this adaptation was so good at doing was taking what could have been, to continue my analogy, a Little House on the Prairie period piece, and turned it into a challenge to all of us in this moment when it is so difficult for young girls living in the world to move forward and to become who they want to be because of the pressures that they're facing from social media and from our lovely ongoing friend patriarchy. It gave this voice a contemporary resonance by moving the play after a first half that was set in its time in the first part of the 20th century into the here and now. It queered parts of the story. It was funny. It is just a life-affirming, really fun recognition of all that theater, even of an adaptation of something that's old, can be when it tries to be and learns how to be new. I just loved it. And I know we're going to see it at some point in the States. And wouldn't I love, in the spirit of World Premiere Wisconsin, for Wisconsin to be the first state to bring it stateside?
Oh, I'm going to hope for that, because that sounds fantastic. I want to see it for sure. Okay, well, let me allow the patriarchy to bring me to the next thing that I've got in my list, and that is, I'm feeling really grateful to the companies who have not, at least publicly, had to give up on their DEI and accessibility initiatives. I know that there are some companies, because of whatever state they are in, whatever their particular situations, that may have been forced into at least publicly stepping back from their efforts. I know that companies that get funding from the federal government have been put in very difficult positions because of everything going on with the NEA and the federal government. But even companies that don't have those particular factors to deal with on an immediate level, it is still challenging to be as vocal and forthright about an organization's commitments to DEI, to accessibility, to anti-racism. It's very difficult in this environment to do that. We have seen so many companies and so many corporations just, erasing a lot of the work that was done since 2020. And so I want to express gratitude to the companies that are sticking by it, knowing that it may in some ways be an expensive path to stay on for a lot of reasons. So kudos.
Yay.
Yeah. Yeah. So much to say about that, but yes, probably for, another time. Yeah, absolutely. And that believe in it and didn't do it just because there was a movement and an ask that are doing the work and truly believe the work.
Yeah. Most of the companies that I have observed seeming to stick with their commitments are ones, frankly, like ours, where this was work we were doing from our outset, not just since 2020, but also companies that really started doing this work in 2020. If they are sticking with it, I mean, God bless and thank you.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I've got another one about in the spirit, since I went with books last time, to continue this a little bit further. And this is a holiday shopping tip too for those of you out there. 2 theater books I read this year. One of them new and one of them older, although available from any online provider. And it doesn't have to be Amazon. There are others, folks. That I read this year that really stuck with me. The first grew out of me seeing at Northwestern in the early part of the year, a musical by Gabriel Kahan called February House. I knew nothing about the musical. I knew nothing about February House, which I'll mention more of in a minute. But I see as much theater as I can at Northwestern because it really is one of the best training grounds for theater people in the United States. February House was the name given mostly because many of the people living there had February birthdays, to a house which in 1940 and 41, the following lived there and shared space as an artist's commune: W.H. Auden, Carson McCullers, Jane and Paul Bowles, Benjamin Britten and his lover Peter Pears, and wait for it, Gypsy Lee Rose or Gypsy Rose Lee, all there together. In fact, and there was a further person who was the Harper's fiction editor who was also living there, who was helping Gypsy put together her first book, The G-String Murders. So it's a book about what it means, again, timely in ways I hadn't expected when I saw it, about what it means for a community of artists in a moment when the United States was sliding toward war, where the country, for some of the people who were living in this house, was already at war. What is the role of the artist? And how do you decide in the sort of age-long debate between aesthetics and politics? What do you do as an artist in a moment when there is a crisis going on? How do you make a space for freedom? And in this particular house, how do you open up the idea of identity and queer it in ways that make more room for more people? It's a beautiful, fun, and also just gossipy as hell book. So I recommend that as an older book that was actually published in 2005. And then new this year, and this is not this is a fiction book, but Katie Kitamura had one of the 6 Booker Prize finalists this year for a book called The Audition, which takes the life of a middle-aged woman who is an actor, and she's trying to figure out what her role is in a play, and uses that to meditate on the way in which performance works in our lives and how hard it is for any of us to be true to ourselves. It's one of the ways in which I'm always grateful for theater. In the immortal words of Tennessee Williams, instead of giving us the illusion of reality, it gives us illusion as a reality. It allows us to perform our way into truth and be conscious of the fact that the gestures we make in life every day have an impact. And this book is really smart. And it's sort of a page turner too, at getting at that. So those are my two stocking stuffer gratitude recommendations on the book front.
I love that. Audition has been on my hold list at the library, so I am delighted.
I've written them both down. We'll talk about that later, Mike.
Very excited. Very excited. I've been thinking sort of more broadly to your point about what theater can do for us as humans. I've been thinking a little bit, and no surprise, because currently at Forward, we've been running the tremendously silly and joyful Gutenberg the musical. But just thinking about the experience of laughter in community and how that fills me up just to the brim with good feeling, whether it's when I'm just an audience member at a comedy and I get to experience the surprise and laughter that is drawn for myself, or, as a director, when you direct a comedy, there is no greater paycheck than sitting at the back of the house and seeing people move to laughter by what you and your team have created. And I love, so not just being able to work on Gutenberg, but like seeing a show like Oh Mary take Broadway by storm, things like that communal experience of laughter and joy feels so necessary right now. And I'm just grateful for it, I guess is what I'm trying to say. I'm grateful for that.
I mean, just to take the New York reference and run with it, Jen, and also your theme, by far the best play I saw in New York this last year. I mean, nothing even comes close, is maybe Happy Ending. And yeah, I know, not very original. I'm picking the thing that won a bajillion Tony Awards, but it is a play about finding joy in human connection in an age of technology. The premise sounded so stupid to me when I first heard it. I mean, it's two robots falling in love. I mean, I don't know how else to put it, but it's really about so much more than that premise suggests. It's musically sophisticated, and it's about the beating heart that has to exist in theater and in life. For us to remember what it means to be human, even though we're surrounded by all these gizmos and gadgets. It'll come here for sure at some point on tour. I hope. But if not, and you're in New York anytime in the next year, please go see it.
Absolutely. Very high on my list.
Yeah.
So the last thing on my list that I just want to make sure to shout out as a highlight for me of 2025 is that this year began with the fulfillment of a dream that I've had for many, many years. And that was to create a Wisconsin Directors Lab that would provide an opportunity for directors in our state to come together for career education, artistic inspiration, networking development, career advice, all of that. And not just for emerging directors, but also for mid-career and well-established directors. It's something that has felt missing in our state for so long, the entire time I've been here, because I had the good fortune of building my career as a director elsewhere. I was in New York City, and I looked around at emerging directors here in Wisconsin and just felt so frustrated that there wasn't a good pathway for them to get the education and community that they deserved. And for years, I've been talking about it. And thanks to my incredible partner, whose face I'm looking at right now, Julie Swenson, who said, let's just do it. We finally launched it in January of this year. It was everything I had hoped it could be, and then some. It will be back in January 2027. Can't wait to build on the initial success. But to everybody who supported it, to the donors who helped fund it, to the over 100 people who participated that very cold January weekend here in Madison, I'm super grateful.
It was an incredible weekend.
Yeah. Really special.
Mm-hmm.
And on that, I think I will hand it to our dear friend Mike to bring us home with one more thing to be grateful for.
Well, I want to, since this sort of goes back, this is twinned with my Sarah Day reference, but I want to take a moment to honor Jack Forbes Wilson for whom I'm so grateful for so many reasons. We lost him this year, but he's somebody who was integral to the founding of Forward. He was integral in the early days of the American Players Theater. He did so much good work on stage and behind the scenes as a music director for so many shows. And the thing about Jack, which I will never forget, is how shy he was about the limelight and how modest he was. And not modest in that way where you hear somebody say, don't be so modest, you're not so great. Like genuinely modest. And it's one of the reasons why, as I've said in other contexts, he's one of the people I can count on one hand in my own life who I've met who really deserve that overused word genius. And what was genius about Jack wasn't just that he was musically as gifted as he was, but that he knew how to listen and genuinely loved the people he was working with. And because he could hear them, genuinely hear them, he was able to take in what they were saying and incorporate it with all of his own prodigious talent to just build beautiful worlds. And on stages sometimes that were so small and that will, in productions that will never be remembered, except by those who were lucky enough to see them. But he is somebody who is a huge part of Wisconsin theater history in the last 30 years. And boy, are we all going to miss him.
Yeah.
Beautiful, Mike. Thank you.
Yeah. Well, that was a perfect way to close out our conversation about gratitude.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you for that, Mike. And I will say then that this is it for this episode of Theater Forward, a conversation about theater in Wisconsin, the Midwest, and America. Thank you so much for joining us. I'm Jen Uphoff Gray.
I'm Julie Swenson.
And I'm Mike Fisher. I'm always grateful for the person who produces this podcast. Does such a great job sort of navigating our tech nightmares, which is Scott Hayden. You can follow us or share your thoughts on Facebook. And I'm grateful for the fact that that's at Theater Forward with theater spelled, as always, with an ER.
And if you enjoy this podcast, don't forget to subscribe to us and leave a message or a comment. We would love, love, love to hear from you. We'd be thankful if you would leave a comment.
Tell us what you're grateful for.
Yes. Right.
And as we always close out by saying, we are so grateful to have you listening, and we really, really are. And we will be back soon for another Theater Forward conversation.